go for the one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go. There you go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. Good job. Good job. All right. Good job, everybody. Okay. Please stand as you're able and join us for our opening song, This Moment.
I got so excited watching you guys come in, I forgot that I am centering our morning this morning. Yes, indeed. And maybe it's a good thing to take a little bit longer moment to consciously shift from the highs of the music into the opportunity to go within and remember to touch in to the gap of grace, that point of stillness that is at the center of each of us. And so from that place, I welcome you here, inviting you to reflect on where you've been so far this day and collect your energy from the road, from the parking lot, from the stairway or the elevator, and feel yourself grounded right here and right now, knowing that the presence of Spirit awaits these opportunities. These practices do not change Spirit. They change us. So from that knowing, we light our God candle and recognize the light of Spirit within each and every one here and with each and every one seeking this place. With blessing and great gratitude, thank you for being here this day. Thank you, Pat. I'm just stand here and do it. So, y'all don't know it, but I'm a transformer, and about the time he puts that up there, I'm going to be male and a little bit taller, and I will be Newsman Newton.
So you want to announce your speaker first, or?
Well, no, fine. That's Spirit is leading the way. So hopefully y'all have guessed that Brent, Uzzell, and Shannon are here with us today. And I'm trying to think. I think you all know Brent and have experienced Brent. So I'll just say, as I always do, I'm excited. I love to watch these two operate. And the last time Brent was here, Shannon was not able to sing for us. But this time she is on. So it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I'll let him take care of. He knows how to take care of introducing what he's talking about. Thank you, honey. Okay, now, announcements and upcoming events. I don't think I'm quite legendary yet. I'd have to do it a few more times to be legendary. Okay. We bless the person who comes up with these every week. I don't know that I would have nowhere to find all this wonderful stuff. Go ahead. So there's still time. If anyone is interested in doing the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success with Carolyn, this is work by Deepak Chopra. It is an awesome course, and it is now, did not used to be, but it is now one of the credited courses through Science of Mind, which I think was an excellent idea on their part. If you choose to sign up, there's a sign-up sheet back there. Since Carolyn isn't here today, we would want to let her know. And it starts on October the 2nd. And it will go, I believe she said, we don't have it on there, 7 weeks. Yeah, she's going to make it 7 weeks so that it will end before the holidays. And so that'll be awesome.
That's this Wednesday.
Yes, starts this Wednesday on Zoom. And so it's very relaxed, very flexible as far as not having to get out and all of that. I think we're good. The men's group is the first Thursday of each month, and I have no idea which house they're meeting at, so I'm going to
It'll be at my house.
Oh, good. Hey, we have a representative. Yes, absolutely. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, just come, please.
They don't need a password or, you know,
No.
secret handshake?
No,
No? Okay.
I'll provide food.
Visioning happens this coming Saturday, the 5th of October, and as you guys know, I am all about that. And that's you're not going to stop hearing from me about that, because we are in the middle of another awesome round of visioning with 10 more fabulous people from across the nation. And so I'm just saying, at 10 o'clock in the morning, Saturday the 5th, and then if you choose, you can roll right from there, right into the Saturday morning discussion call. So that's all I have to say about that. Next Sunday is once again Social Sunday. Yes, indeed. Pat does this stuff, you guys. So there we go, and that of course is on the 6th. And let's see, what's next? Okay, so before I say that, there's a couple other things I do want to say. Is the first is this afternoon, I know for sure Vernon and I are going to O'Shea's, so because we'll be going with Brent and Shannon. So anyone who'd like to join us for lunch today and spend more time talking to our illustrious guests, that's where we're going to be right after service. And then also, just so you know, because we're launching into October, we are going to do another after Sunday workshop. It'll be briefer, but on the 20th of October, Reverend Carolyn is going to do a bit of an experiential of some of the things that she's been talking about. So, and there he is, my double. I transformed into you.
Look at the flowers.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so I think Pat is the practitioner of the day. Do you want to say any more about that?
No, within 5 minutes after service close, I'll be right over there at the shower door.
And just so you guys remember it, our prayer box is right there, and we do the prayer at the end of service, and then the practitioners do treatment on the prayer requests that come in. I just want to keep announcing that so that you know. Okay. That brings us on to our affirmation. As I reset my attitudes for fall, I release all fears. I am happy, healthy, self-sufficient, and strong. I am beautiful in mind and body. Yes. Okay.
Story time.
Shannon, would you be willing to hand me that piece of paper, please? Does anybody have a story that you would like to share? Okay. If you come up here, then everyone will be able to hear you. Okay. Oh, okay. Good for me.
So I was thinking about what I wanted to say because I have a few things that happened the last few weeks, and it just kind of led me to this whole, like, I could tell my whole story, my whole life story up here, because things things happen in your past, and then it's like anyway, it's all part of the plan, I guess you'd say. And so more recently, I've been taking some training in massage therapy, and Friday I took the final test and I passed.
Yay!
That's the first thing. Thank you. So, but years ago, I started this journey, and I want to say thank you to someone in this room who influenced me greatly in taking care of myself, and I was going for stress relief, things like that, and that would be Miss Constance Moore.
Yay, Constance!
She taught me yoga, and also she started my journey on energy healing, Reiki. So, I really plan to, my plan is to work full-time, as a body worker and energy worker, and helping people that way. So,
Well,
thank you.
thank you so
Okay.
much. That's awesome. And what I have to share this morning is not a personal story, but we really want you all to know how you impact the community around you. And we received a letter from the Golden Arrow Center for Mothers and Children, and in July, we took a few months of accumulated community ties, just to take a moment so that you guys remember and know. We are a tithing organization, and we tithe 10%, and 5% goes to national, to support the National Centers for Spiritual Living, and 5% goes to local charity. And so in July, we were able to donate $492 to the Golden Arrow for Mothers and Children, and we received a thank you letter back. Our mission is to help the mothers help their children. We seek to make the life option viable by providing maternity clothes, children's clothing, diapers, formula food, baby care items, and toys to our clients, and to provide referrals to other social services in the community in a supportive and respectful manner. Services are provided to those in need without regard to race, color, religion, or creed. We sincerely appreciate your continued support of our work with the families of Kentuckiana. May God bless you for your generosity. Thank you. And then there's a personal note from a young lady named Emily who signed this for them. Thank you for your kind and generous donation to our outreach ministry. The charitable tithe from your congregation was used to purchase diapers, formula, and baby food for families in need. So thank you ever so much for your support. Now, I shall turn this over to Mr. Brent Uzzell. Reading. I'm sorry. But this is going to be awesome, guys. So don't listen to me, because I happen to know that this is awesome.
This morning's sacred reading is a sacred video, and it's a video produced by Reverend David Alt, if you're familiar with him, from the Center of Spiritual Living in Atlanta. And so I invite you to enjoy this and relax into it.
For a moment, every eye sees a petal begin its journey from stem to ground, and in that thimbleful of time, all worry becomes extinct. All futurizing over what might be or what could happen ceases, and the world, in relaxation, unites in the joy of the now. Yes, imagine for a moment there is no worry. For a moment, every inhale welcomes wellness, and the world feels relief from the accompanying pains of disease. The air hums with the sighs of billions expressing their collective relief. Yes, imagine for a moment, there is no pain. For a moment, everybody wins. And the victory circle is electric with the hugs, handshakes, and prayerful vows of authentic acknowledgement. It is the delicious moment when every mind with every heart conceives the truth that there is more than enough for all. Yes, imagine for a moment that everybody wins. For a moment, all are able to forgive everything and everyone from every age of the past, every thought of separation, every grievance and grudge. Brother understands brother, sister their sister, child understands parent, and parent their child. And the world is awash with liberation. Yes, imagine for a moment that all forgive. For a moment, there is no hunger, and the bellies of all children and adults are filled with the precise nourishment their body is craving. Food is is equally portioned and equally shared, and all races and religions discover that by sharing, one need never suffer from hunger again. Yes, imagine for a moment there is an end to hunger. For a moment, every person, everywhere, is active in their passion, doing what they love. Self-doubt has evaporated, and each heart beats with the rhythm of confidence. Creativity is a sacred act for the soul without concern for recompense or approval. Time and deadline is replaced with being lost in the joy of doing what one loves. Yes, imagine for a moment that everyone is living their passion. For a moment, every conscious thought tilts towards reverent action for the earth. The planet is nurtured and treated with sacred intention. Every ounce of air and water is pure. Pollution is a distant memory, and each inhabitant contributes to unprecedented ecological stability. Yes, imagine for a moment the earth is healed. For a moment, every heart has someone to love and someone who loves them back. For every soul, there is a connection, and for every connection, there is an appreciative soul. Loyalty, devotion, and respect are as natural and effortless to embody as breathing. Yes, imagine for a moment that true love exists for all. And with each imagined moment linked to the other, we stretch those moments to an occasion, those occasions to hours, those hours into days. And in those collection of days, where the imagination is free to think as big and as grand as it can, we begin to see and feel the shifts, our planet, our hearts, our passions, our lives. Yes, imagine for a moment everything is expanding and guiding us into a new era of living.
So in honor of our theme this month of planet stewardship, I chose a song that's about a culture that really can teach us a thing or two about Earth stewardship and connection with the Earth. This is from the movie, Walt Disney movie, Pocahontas. You think I'm an ignorant savage, and you've been so many places, I guess it must be so. Yet still I cannot see if the savage one is me. How can there be so much that you don't know? You don't know. Think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? bobcat why he grins? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you. And for once, never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends. And we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or ask the grinning bobcat why he grins? You can sing with all the voices of the mountain. You can paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate your presence. I never take it lightly when people show up to hear me bumble around, so thank you. Your presence here is a true gift. We teach what we need to learn, so thank you for being my teachers this morning. If you've heard me talk before, and I recognize all of your faces, you probably have, I'm likely to throw some book titles at you through the course of the talk, so if you're a bibliophile like I am, have a pen and piece of paper handy if you want to catch the titles. I can't promise you I'll remember after the fact. And I need to own up front this morning that I'm a little nervous about this talk, and I don't really know why, except that I am deeply emotionally invested in the topic. So, stewardship of the earth. I titled this talk Sacred Canopy. I'll explain that momentarily. But let's begin with talking about where we are on this planet. What is the state of the planet today? We all know about climate change, right? We've heard temperature is rising. We've heard the ice is melting. Most of you probably know the Arctic Circle is actually navigable most of the year now. We can actually send shipping traffic across the pole. Isn't that wonderful? You know, the polar bears are under severe stress as a population. So are the South American penguins, by the way. Did you know that the United States and Canada have lost over a third of their wild bird populations? Did you know that globally amphibians are about to disappear from the planet? Their entire order, not species, order of animals is about to disappear. Did you know that all of the world's oceans now feature dead zones, the largest of which is the Gulf of Oman and the Sea of Arabia? The close second is actually in the Gulf of Mexico. The one in the Gulf of Mexico, by the way, is 6,000 square miles. Think about that. 6,000 square miles. What do I mean by ocean dead zone? Well, simply that. From the top of the water to the bottom, nothing is able to survive. There is no life. You've probably heard about the bleaching of the coral reefs. You've probably heard that in the last 30 years we've lost 50% of the world's coral reefs. Moths and butterflies have just about disappeared. In Europe, a 30-year study determined that Europe has lost 80% of its biomass of flying insects in the last 20 years. A mad dash is underway now across the globe by trying to measure the impact of the flying insect population elsewhere compared to what Europe has found. Insect populations globally are under extreme stress and in decline. We are living through, here comes your first book title, what Elizabeth Colbert popularized by her book title, The Sixth Mass Extinction. Our geologic record contains 5 mass extinctions, the largest of which was the Permian extinction about 250 million years ago, when we lost 95% of the species on the planet. We are now living through the 6th mass extinction. We have seen more animal species go extinct since 1950 than ever before in recorded history, and we are on track to outdo the Permian. And remember, 95% of the species in the Permian are gone. The United States government has had a report in its hands, one that they actually published when they finished it. I think it was 4 years ago, don't quote me. But they were investigating why we were seeing such an influx of immigration from Central America. At first, it was through legal means, through seeking visas. We noticed that it was peasant population largely from the Central Highlands, and we began to investigate, and we realized that Central America is in a sustained, prolonged period of drought. Small-scale agriculture in Central America has failed. The peasant populations that live in the highlands are starving. They first flooded the cities, and then, unable to make a living in the cities, began to move north. That movement hasn't stopped, as you know from news report. It continues. The drought in the Central Highlands weakened their principal cash crop, which was the coffee plant. Weakened it to the point that it's no longer able to avoid infestation, and it is suffering from a fungus plague that has decimated Guatemalan coffee in particular. So they're not only unable to raise crops for sustenance, they can no longer raise their principal cash crop that they used for money, which allowed them to purchase food. So they end up in concentration camps. Did I say that? Yes, I did. On the U.S. border. Mothers desperately trying to throw their children across the river so they have a chance for survival. Scientists are virtually in agreement now that first what we experienced as the Arab Spring that became the Syrian Revolution was spurred predominantly by the rise in food prices in the Middle East due to prolonged drought there. So climate change is just the tip of the iceberg. Our environment, our living world is a complex system, and climatologists and ecosystem biologists have really taken us a long way down the path of understanding complex systems. How many of you have ever played the tabletop game Jenga? where you stack the little wooden blocks and you build this tower, and then everybody pulls a block. You notice that it's a perfect example of a complex system. Each piece relies on every other piece in that system, and as every piece is taken out, the system is weakened. You don't notice any effects of the weakening system until you begin to come upon some tipping points, and as you hit these tipping points, you notice the system start to sway a little bit and become unstable, until finally somebody pulls that last block. And what happens? The complex system fails in a cascade to the lowest level of entropy. That, my friends, is what we're facing, not only in climate, but in biosphere and human civilization. Because the human mind cannot grasp a universe in which it is not present, we really can't wrap our mind around our own oblivion, and we spend so much psychological energy in the denial of our own death. What's true for us as individuals is true for us as a collective. We cannot imagine a time when humanity doesn't exist. But the plain fact of it, and it's science, this is not a political statement. I don't care what they say on TV, what industry analysts say, what politicians say. It's not a debate. It's been studied for over 50 years. It's well documented. It's out there. We know we are headed for extinction as a species if we don't change something and change it in a hurry. Isn't that a wonderful talk for a positive mind-filled community like New Thought on a Sunday morning? So that's where we are. That's where we are. Time is running out. We are not going to avoid some of the really nasty effects of climate change. In fact, we're confronting them now. Who knows how much longer the biosphere can have these threads of the web broken before it reaches tipping point. So, let's bring this back to us. How do we get here? How do we get here? Well, one of the founding insights of the American metaphysical movement, of which CSL is a part, was that our thoughts create our reality. If you look at Western culture predominantly, it's not our extractive energy, it's not our form of mass pesticide, fertilizer dependent agriculture. It's really not a wool barons like the Koch brothers. It's not corrupt politicians who like to take money from the oil barons like the Koch brothers. How we got here is really much simpler than that. And it actually starts with Genesis 1:1. You see, our foundational myth as a culture has been interpreted in such a way that it brought us to today. These foundational myths are so deeply embedded in our culture, they're just part of who we are. They reside in our psyche whether we're aware of it or not. Let me talk about Genesis just a minute. What we know is that Genesis was developed, written, as direct contradistinction to the prevailing myths of the cultures around ancient Israel at the time. The predominant creation story was a Babylonian story of Marduk and Tiamat. In the original creation story of Babylon, it is a story where creation happens as a violent act. Marduk kills the goddess Tiamat, dismembers her body gruesomely, and slings her bodies to the four corners of the chaos that was primordial existence. Tiamat's body becomes everything that's material. It became the land, it became the stars, and her blood became the water. It was violence against the female that created all that we know. In the Genesis story, God, a God, not a plurality of them, a God creates, not through violence, but through speaking in love. Simply declares, let there be. There's no resistance. There's no violence, no fight, no war story. There's no resistance at all to the creative command. Let it be. Let there be light. God creates not out of anger and violence, but out of the impulse of its true nature. As self-expression. And in this creation, God shapes in its own image the human being. And Adam and Eve are created with a purpose, with a task to do. And that was to extend the garden. You see, God didn't create Eden to its full extent. Adam's job in Eden was to nurture what was there and expand it. The original Babylonian creation story was lost to memory. And what our culture did with the story of Genesis, we saw it as a story that explained our living circumstance. Instead of man having dominion in the sense that it's a responsible stewardship, a requirement to extend the garden and to nurture what was there. Instead of that purpose, we saw it as a great chain of being. Man becomes on top, and what's good for man is good for everybody else, and we're going to shape nature to our benefit. We read what God said about the hardship of childbirth and survival, about the snake and the human being and our relationship going forward. Remember, the snake will bite your heel and your heel will crush the head of the snake. Instead of us being in harmony with all life around us was a threat. And we would be in perpetual warfare. In that story, that foundation story, still feeds our form of medicine. It still drives our view of the natural world, of all living things. That view that nature needs to be dominated and controlled and ultimately is a threat to our survival. Now, we can forgive the ancients, number one, as time passed with the destruction of Babylon, the original creation stories to which Genesis would have been compared by the original audience has been lost. And other things happened throughout history, and Genesis, as it was interpreted, fit well with many of life's circumstances as they evolved on the planet, especially in the presence of hierarchies, constant warfare, plagues, and other catastrophes that befell mankind in the 1500, since 1500 BC. But those stories still resonate, and that interpretation still resonates. Another interpretation of the Genesis story, and it's not in Genesis, but it's something that's happened to Genesis by modern readers. In the story of Genesis, God never leaves the garden, and the garden never leaves the planet. Man moves, God doesn't. But as God evolves throughout the Old Testament and in human psyche since, what happened to God? God becomes the sky god. It's up there somewhere. It's separate from the earth, separate from our lived reality. We're no longer in God's presence. In the garden, they lived in constant communion, in a unified whole, not only with the divine, but with all living things. Out of the garden, they're in conflict with all living things and absent the presence of God. And God becomes what one sociologist of religions, another book title I'm going to throw at you, called the sacred canopy. Up there, sacred, distant, transcendent, out of reach, unknowable, beyond our ken and kin. You see, the second great insight of the American metaphysical movement, of which CSL is a part, is that there is one life, one peace, one power, one presence, fully, completely, everywhere expressing. It may shock you, but there is actually a Catholic monk, Catholic theologian, who's now an Episcopalian because of this book. He wrote a book called The Coming of the Cosmic Christ. You know what he had the audacity to say? Coming of the cosmic Christ. We must come to a time when we realize that we are the corporal living body of Christ. And by we, he didn't mean me and you. He meant the entire physical universe. We are all the body of the Christ. All things that exist, all material reality is a part of the body of Christ. What is there for us to do then, knowing what we know about where we are on this planet as a species, knowing what is incontrovertible about climate change and mass extinction, knowing how vulnerable we are as a species to extinction ourselves, knowing that we reside in this soup of really lousy interpretation of foundational myths that still resonate in our collective consciousness today. A couple of things I would suggest. Number one is we really need to get busy writing some new myths. We need new origin stories. We need a new explanation, new narratives of meaning and belonging, a new way of understanding man's role in the cosmos, in explaining who and what we are. We need new myths that celebrate and capture the insights of the divine feminine instead of dismembering her and casting her aside, or demonizing her, as has been done with Eve. Know who suggested that? Here's another book title for you. If you want to understand the Jewish interpretation of Genesis and some of the great lessons in that book about the divine feminine, check out Abraham Joshua Heschel, God in Search of Man. We need new myths, new myth makers, new narratives, new stories, new explanations. But we also need a new understanding of ourselves and the natural world. our number one task is to get the metaphysical movement's number one tenet. To get it firmly, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. There is only one life. Everywhere, fully, completely expressing. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. The chair you're sitting in, the concrete beneath your feet, the earth beneath that. In the microbe and the sea worm, in the tree, the flower. Everywhere fully, completely expressing. Every form of life, every material object, every physical reality in the universe is a center of the living God, is sacred, is holy, and contains that divine potential in its fullness. When each of us can say that of ourselves, think about it for just a minute. Do you honestly accept right now that you are whole, perfect, and complete? That you, as a living, breathing human being, with all your past and with all your present, with all the troubles of today, whatever they may be in your life, do you fully, completely grasp this reality that you are the living fullness of God? There is one life, fully, completely, everywhere expressing. Guess what? Tag, you're it. You're it. The world needs us right now, desperately. And it needs us right now to get it. To get it. Do I get it? No, not by a long shot. Not always. Oh, I'll grab it for a minute here and there. Do I still have work to do? Need collaboration? That's our job. What do we do about the big picture? What do we do about the planet in crisis? What do we do to stave off extinction? I don't know. I know what I need to do. What I need to do is to get this reality, hold on to it, put it together like a string of pearls. Grab whatever seconds of it I can grab today. Try to grab one more second of it tomorrow, maybe add a second the day after that, and keep going. Trusting that whatever is mine to do will appear. And then take whatever small steps I'm led to take. If it's plant a tree, plant a tree. Put out some bird seed, help the birds survive a little while. That would be great. Plant a flower, put out a hummingbird. I don't know. There are things we can do to make a real difference in the environment, one small step at a time. And I don't know what those steps are for you. But I know this, if we get clear on goal number one, which is to get that foundational truth for ourselves and embody it. Step number two of our thoughts creating our reality and being about the collective process of creating creative narratives that embody and embolden and empower a new dynamic on the planet, a new way of understanding our belonging in the cosmos. That will naturally flow from step one. And then my little microcosm, the steps I need to take to make a difference, will be made clear to me along the way. And I simply need the courage to act as I'm led. All of that having been said, let me invite you to sit back, relax, close your eyes for a second, and let's explore something together. There is only one life, one peace, one power, one presence, one love, unfolding everywhere. And that one peace, that one presence, that one power, that one love is me. Notice for a moment what happened when I said me. What response arose in your mind, in your body? There is only one life. There is only one love. There is only one peace, one power, one presence, fully, completely expressing everywhere. And that life expresses right here, right now, as me. I am one life. I am one love. I am at peace. My life and my love express fully and completely everywhere. And so it is. Amen.
My blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak, her sap doth run in my veins. Boundless my soul like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My hands hold the weavings of time without end, my side as deep as the sea. Beating my heart sounds the measure of old, that of love's eternity. That of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on a far distant sand. Winging my song is the wind of my breath, and my love blows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. foot carries days of the old into new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our faith settles deep in the earth, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day.
Thank you, Shannon. That was beautiful. If you're joining us and would like to donate using our credit card machine, it's in the back behind Vernon there. If you're visiting us via the internet online, you can go to our website, lcslonline.org, and you can donate there. Your generous donations help us keep this going and help us donate to things like the Golden Arrow and the Little Way Pregnancy Center, and help us reach a lot of people, and we appreciate that. So join me in saying a prosperity affirmation. I am always guided towards my good. Yes.
Thank you, Mo. You're awesome. Thank you, Pat. It is with great blessing and great joy that we consciously participate in the flow of giving and receiving in the principle that goes back to the beginning, and knowing that there is only love, and love leads the way. Thank you. I just want to take a moment to set an atmosphere for this time in prayer. You feel the thoughtfulness in this room right now. And what occurs to me, it just feels important to name, is that the truth shall set us free. And both sides of a phenomenal truth have been spoken right here, right now. And as I know that the truth is the way and the life, and that it does set us free, I know that for myself, I recognize it as the one. I recognize it on behalf of myself and of each individual here present in a divine alignment of mind, heart, and soul, in realization for every prayer that has been offered unto this prayer box, for every being that has ever walked through Louisville Center for Spiritual Living's doors, for every being who is here present, right here and right now. And I know that in my experience of myself and every person here present, that as we are all pieces of the canopy, as we are all woven together in that one mind, in that one heart, in that one soul, that which is ours to do rises up in the immediate, right here and right now. As for myself, it has occurred to me that I dedicate myself in this moment to remember to turn the water off if I am not using it. It's one thing, one action that is manifest through me in this moment. And I know that each one of us have those small actions that create that stronger alignment, that create that stronger weaving, that honors this truth that sets us free. The kingdom of heaven is at hand, and it is only for us to step into it. And so, from this very prayerful place, I, in gratitude, release it, and I let it be, and so it is.
Please stand as you're able for our song of going forth, All Is Well.
Spending some time in Namaste. This has been a phenomenal month, and I think all of you who've been here throughout this month can pick one thing, either blessing through Namaste or radical forgiveness. Pick something and offer it to the person that you're looking in the eyes as a blessing. And if you don't know what else to say, you can simply say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. Thank you.
welcome.